Most men wish they were more like Phil from The Hangover, but a majority of them act like Stu. In this video, I'm going to give you 6 things that I learned about being attractive from watching the movie The Hangover. Throughout most of my life, and definitely throughout my marriage, I was a Stu. And I was always very jealous and envious of people like Phil, thinking they had God-given gifts and had something that I could never have. So let's go through some of the behaviors that make Stu not as attractive and Phil more attractive to women. I watched The Hangover for the first time 2 days ago. Now, when I first saw this scene, it brought me flashbacks to what I was like when I first started dating my ex. At the time, I was in the Air Force, I was part of the Honor Guard, and some of our duties was to go on overnight trips so that we would be ready to perform the military honors first thing in the morning. And when I saw the clip and she's yelling at him that he's got to call him right away and just kind of disrespecting him with the way that she talks, it really just reminded me of when I would go on these trips. I would not go out with the team. I would not do any sort of camaraderie, any sort of bonding. I would sit on the phone the entire night so that my girlfriend knew I was not out there cheating. I was not doing anything to jeopardize the relationship. I was committed to her. And it really just reinforced how much of a people pleaser I was. I was willing to not build new friendships. I was willing to just sit in my hotel room because I wanted to make sure she was happy and I did not want to have any sort of conflict. That's exactly how Stu handles this situation as well. You can compare that to how Phil behaves throughout the movie. He's not worried about pleasing other people. He's not worried about what they think. You can see in this clip that he's just getting done with school and they're on their way to Vegas and he does not want to address the student at all. He's got his own things to worry about. Now, the next thing that makes Phil more attractive than Stu is that Phil is a leader of men and he is a risk taker. You can see this throughout the movie. Phil does not worry about asking others for their opinion. He takes action. In this clip at the wedding chapel, you can see how everybody's freaking out and his immediate thoughts are, don't worry, I'll take care of it. And he just starts to take action. If you compare that with Stu, you'll see throughout the movie, he's not much of a risk taker. He's definitely not a leader of men. He's always following the lead of Phil. He's always kind of complaining about their circumstances, not taking action. This is how I behaved when I was in my marriage, always asking, what would you like for dinner? What do you want to do? Always kind of following her lead, never taking control of the situation. Not really much of a risk taker either. You can really see the difference between Phil and Stu in this clip on the rooftop, where Phil's just ready to go on an adventure and Stu is worried about if they're even supposed to be on the roof in the first place. The next thing I wanted to bring up that makes Phil more attractive to women than Stu is that Phil does not hide his masculine energy. He's not afraid to say when he finds women attractive. He doesn't hide his intentions. He says what he thinks. And in this clip, you can see in the cop car, he sees a pretty girl and he calls her out on what he likes about her. As you can see, Phil does not hide his masculinity. He found this girl attractive. He says so. He's not trying to pretend otherwise. Now, obviously, I'm not saying you go around telling every girl she's got a nice rack or that you found her super hot. But the fact that he does not hide his intentions is much more attractive than the guy who tries to be her friend first, doesn't want to make it known that he does like her in some way, that he does have desires for her. This is how I behaved throughout high school. Didn't want girls to know that I liked them because I didn't want to face rejection. This was throughout my marriage. I didn't want to let my wife know I found other girls attractive. Very reminiscent of this scene with Stu when they're on the couch talking about how disgusting it is that girls are dancing as strippers and that why would any guy want to see another attractive girl on stage dancing. The next big difference between Phil and Stu is the amount of confidence they display. You can see this throughout the entire movie, but just the way that Phil carries himself, the way he expresses himself is just drastically different than how Stu carries himself. And I think this desert scene kind of sums this up perfectly. In the beginning of this scene, Stu is very apologetic. He does not want to express any displeasure. He wants it to be known to Chow that they will do anything to get their friend back. And Phil is willing to express that he's not happy with the situation. He's not afraid to let it be known that he is angry. He wants his friend back, but he's not going to take any bullshit with it either. The next key difference that make women more attracted to Phil than to Stu is by the way that they carry themselves. It is very clear that Phil is in much better physical condition. He's much more stylish, and he carries himself in a much better manner. And if you compare that to Stu, who's very scrawny, doesn't dress particularly well, kind of dresses like an old man, he doesn't really do anything to stand out or show that he's attractive in any way. And the final behavior trait that really separates Phil from Stu in terms of attractiveness is their sense of humor. Phil is willing to be himself, to be playful, to tease others, whereas Stu is very uptight, is sort of the butt of people's jokes. It really comes down to just being able to express yourself without worrying what other people think. Phil does not hesitate to do it, whereas Stu is not trying to ruffle any feathers. Those are 6 reasons why women typically find men like Phil more attractive than men like Stu. And the reason I wanted to make this video was to show you that these are not some God-given gifts. This is what I used to think growing up and while I was married. I thought that men like Phil had something that I didn't, something that I could never have. But over the years, as I've learned and grown, I've seen that these are things that you can actually start to incorporate into your life. As I was watching this movie the other day, it really just registered with me how much of a Stu I used to be. I did not dress well. I was not in good shape. I was absolutely a people pleaser. I was not very confident. I would not express any sort of emotion. I would not joke with anybody. I would not have conversations. I was not a leader. It was always, what would you like to do? What would this person do? This person is more successful than me. They're more confident than me. I will just follow them. So as you've seen, Phil, he's dressing more stylish. That is something that you can absolutely do and improve on. He is in better shape. You can go to the gym. You can work on your body. You can eat healthier. This is not just something that is a God-given talent. You can hold yourself more accountable. You can be a leader of men. You can express things that you want to do. And you don't have to hide your masculine intentions. You don't have to pretend that you're not interested in women. You don't have to try to be their friend first. There's a lot of things that you can take away between the difference between Phil and Stu and start incorporating that immediately. If you guys need any help with that, join a clarity call. I'll get you some help, just kind of game plan of what actions you can start taking to really get the dating life that you want, to start meeting the women that you want, to become the man that you want to become. These are not God-given gifts. These are things you can learn. You develop them over time. Let me know if this video was helpful for you, and we'll see you in the next one.